That's our thing. All right. They're happy. Let's keep getting more stuff. All right. So here we are. We are here with Representative Mandie Landry from District 91, who's been our representative here for how many years?
4 years.
Yeah, 4 full years, and looking at another 4. And so I thought we would just sit down with you, Voters Organized Educate, have a seat, and we'll kind of go over some of the things that you've worked on, some of the things that you're interested in doing, and even some changes in the district.
Yep.
So first, let's just, how about give me an overview of some of the things you're most proud of over the past 4 years?
So I've done a lot with criminal justice issues, with women and maternal health care. That's one of the reasons
of course.
I got
well
it.
known for that.
Ended up doing some flooding and coastal issues and city issues about blight, and just kind of making the city a little better place to live that I didn't plan on. A little bit marijuana. It's kind of spanned a lot of progressive issues and then really quality of life issues.
Yeah, and so you've worked with us some issues that we have around incarceration and healthcare, and I have to say I was really excited when you put in the bill to try to end the copay, the medical copay, which was an issue that a lot of people didn't know about.
No idea.
No, and like to imagine that people had to pay over a week's salary to be seen by a doctor, and then all the other problems with healthcare on the inside. And it was impressive that we were able to kind of talk to so many people, including the DOC, who were in support of your bill. And ironically, tell us how the hearing went.
So the bill was to end copays to go to the doctor, to go to the infirmary, and I think we also had to end prescription costs. And while the costs seem low to us of a couple of bucks, if you make 4 cents an hour or 20 cents an hour, it's cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
And so they don't go, the illness becomes worse and worse, germs are spread, and suddenly you have a real problem on your hands. And you're right, people didn't know about that because on principle, and I feel like legally, if you incarcerate someone, you are responsible for their health care. And so we filed it, and it actually got some traction from my libertarian colleagues who said, wait a minute, are you just throwing good money after bad? Why are you collecting $2 from someone? And a couple of the hardcore anti-criminal justice reform people just would not do it. They kept saying people were spending money on potato chips, which is their choice.
Yeah.
And we fought, and DOC was on our side, miraculously, and they wouldn't do it. And DOC ended up passing a regulation doing what we wanted.
Yeah.
And showing you can be creative and you can kind of go around and go through the side door to do important work, but just be open to that.
Yeah.
Just really be open to it. Because one of my anti-criminal justice colleagues was going to kill the motion to hear it out of order. I mean, that's just cruel.
Yeah, it was a really tough committee there on the Criminal Justice Committee, and so getting
Really tough.
anything through, which we have got a lot of things through the last 4 years, but it hasn't been by just luck, it's been by skillful politicians, a lot of community engagement, and that's what it takes. That's why we're excited to see you run again. So you actually filed a bill to put term limits on the impressively unterm limited position of sheriff. How did that go?
I mean, from a sort of educational sort of stunt. Well, so I didn't know, there were so many things I didn't know before I was elected, because they don't tell the public these things, but the sheriff is one of 3 powerful groups. The Sheriff's Association, Lobby, the Business Association, and of course Right to Life and the Cultural Warriors. But the sheriffs, they can kill a bill.
Yeah.
They can pass a bill. There's one in every parish. Ours in Orleans is a little different here, but they're so powerful. And term limits are a small C conservative issue. I like term limits because it promotes turnover. I wouldn't be there but for term limits. It gets younger people in. I think it messes up the sort of voice network. And I had no idea they were not term limited. And oh my God, did the committee freak out. Everyone on it except for one person, talked about how much they love their sheriff.
Yeah.
Because the sheriffs in rural and outlying parishes are basically the top dogs.
And they basically said our constituents want our sheriff basically for life.
Forever.
And it's like, well, then why don't you trust your constituents to vote on it?
Yes. And I even made it so that it would be 12 years. I probably would have gone to 16 years. And the people, it wouldn't start until the end of this term. And
Right.
some of these guys, 50, 60 years old,
Yeah.
they've been, boss hog around forever. But that would have been a check on their power.
Yeah.
Because, eventually someone else would have come around and they were furious. And I went back one day and watched the hearing, and my arguments, same with ballot initiatives, are completely sound, completely
Oh, yeah.
completely make sense. And I kind of laughed a few times in it, and I was like, we all know what's going to happen here.
Yeah.
Oh, there was like 40 red cards. I said, I can't believe there's not 63.
Right. Yeah, they're all from sheriffs,
They're
not
all
from
from
not from
sheriffs.
any
Oh,
constituents.
they were there to stare at their reps.
Yeah.
But I think stuff like that's a good hearing to call people out on their hypocrisy.
Exactly.
And to point out to the public, like, do you know these people are there for life?
Right.
Basically.
And sometimes, we got to take this sort of longer approach. We can't do
Absolutely.
something, right off the rip. We got to kind of zigzag our way. And similarly, we've cared a lot about, healthcare and mental health for people on the inside and people getting out and the lack thereof on the outside. You put in a great resolution to study
Yes.
the healthcare in the jails and prisons. And, most people would say, well, that's just where things go to die. But tell us about that hearing that we had in health and welfare.
Yeah, so resolutions are not law. Sometimes it's happy birthday, Bruce.
I'll take it.
Sometimes it's asking the governor or another state agency to really urge them to do something. But a lot of them are task force and study groups and committee reports. Maybe a third of them are substantive. Some, nothing ever happens, or the product is not that extensive. But y'all worked with Professor Armstrong, who I also worked with on another research project about women who are incarcerated. But yours was mental health, and she dug in. Did y'all have a grant on that?
Yeah, her, myself, and Ashley Wennerstrom also
Yeah.
had a fellowship to be working on this issue.
Which helps. Able to dig into the records. I think I helped you get some records and really go far in. And we were creative with that. Instead of going to the Criminal Justice Committee, we went to Health and Welfare because it was a healthcare issue. And by the way, I can't believe Medicaid does not pay for people who are incarcerated. They absolutely should.
Yeah.
And it was very detailed, and we presented to the Health and Welfare Committee, and it went on for over an hour. They were fascinated
Yeah.
by what was happening, and like I told you earlier, they understand now. You can pay $1 now, or $100 later, or $1,000 later. This makes sense to
Yeah.
pay $1 now. So it was definitely one of the better concurrent resolutions because it went to the Senate too.
Yeah.
That worked out.
And, it's been a great stepping stone. Representative Larry Selders has put in several bills. We just got a bill passed this year that was, hopefully it's going to lead to more mental health care on the inside. So, being able to work with a team, obviously, you're on the progressive side. Nobody up there is going to accuse you of being, I mean, maybe I would maybe call you a moderate personally, but I think around here they would call you total left wing Mandie or some other kind of thing.
All the crazy terms.
So tell us, like, what is the right now concern on the reproductive justice issue, which I know that you're a leading voice on those issues.
Arresting women.
Arresting
Absolutely.
women.
Arresting women, criminal charges or sometimes civil charges, who had an abortion or are suspected of having an abortion. But that also covers self-managed abortion, which since the beginning of time, women have tried to end pregnancies. By the way, I use women mostly publicly instead of pregnant people because often people will turn off, especially my colleagues, if I use more modern terms. So I tend to use that so more people can understand. There's also miscarriages. So miscarriage and abortion look the same. And I've had doctors who testify you cannot know what happened. So especially if it's a poor person or a black or brown woman who had a miscarriage should be suspected of
being self-induced
or going somewhere. And I tried to pass it last year. I tried to even do a study resolution on it last year. I added an amendment on it. and I brought the bill back with the doctor. I switched committees. It was criminal last year. I quietly got into civil law, and Right to Life came in and said, we don't need this bill. We already have it covered. I said, no, we don't. These our two trigger bans are caught up in the courts because they're not the same. And we know from other states that there start to be lawsuits against women. Greg Abbott, whatever the hell he's doing there, we know they're going to be arresting women. That is what Liz Murrill is going to do, who's running for Attorney General. That's probably what Jeff Landry will do. And for a state like ours, where the nearest abortion clinic is about 600 miles, it's going to happen here.
Yeah, and I mean, where is the law, I guess, on someone going across state lines or helping someone go across state lines?
Questionable, right? Our AG, Jeff Landry, and a bunch of red states have this lawsuit going on, I'm not sure where it's filed, to try to get medical records of women who go out of state suspected of abortion, which if that happens, ball game in this country. I mean, that's everything. That's insane that they're trying to do that, but it is a question. It's like, if this is a crime here, and you help me go out of state, are you committing a crime as an accessory, even though the abortion happens elsewhere?
I mean, under that logic, if someone goes to California and smokes recreational marijuana and then comes home, are you going to get arrested for...
So us lawyers discuss that because we're like, the cause of action is in California, not here. The fact is, with a lot of these cases, it's the chilling effect. No one wants to go through a lawsuit. Like a lot of these companies that sell the abortion pill, if they send it into Louisiana, there's no real claim there. There's Commerce Clause. But do they want to be sued and go through it? And that's generally what the anti-choice organizations have done for a long time.
So speaking of chilling effect, you know, I think everyone can agree that there's a chilling going on in the state for a lot of people that is basically about like chilling to live here. And so whether you're LGBTQ, whether you're a black person worried about racial injustice, whether you want freedom in your libraries, insurance rates, whether you can even get insurance. I mean, basically, every car is probably like most likely to not be insured now. And then what happens when you get in an accident? You have this huge bill and the stress, anxiety, crime going up behind not having insurance, the rent going up. What are we going to do?
That's depressing. How you
I'm sorry.
it all
Well, because you always. I guess I was just trying to say
true.
to put it in context of like
I
crime
completely
is
do.
sending everybody out of here. We're all feeling
Crime
unsafe.
It's money.
Yeah, it's money.
All money. Everyone in this room knows crime is generally a result of mental health issues or money. Domestic violence is money. Violence on pregnant women is money. Theft is money. The kids breaking into the cars. So, the economy and money is, we've always had a high poverty rate, but since COVID, it's gotten worse. Homeowners is a mix of money and storms. And we don't have the protections for it. And all of those are scary things to the people who live here. Now, our LGBT community, of course, those who are wealthy are going to move out. We already hear stories of that. But what about people who aren't and who are very much at risk? Sex workers, who I've done a bill with, very, very at risk for so many reasons. It's going to hurt people like that the most. Homeless population.
Yeah. Well, at least there's a few of you that we can count on to be, whether you're the voice of reason, whether you're leading the charge kind of to counteract some of these things, whether you're trying to like amend a bill to make it less harmful. We really appreciate you being up there in the legislature and being that person that we can trust. Not everybody you can trust, even when they do some good things here and there. So, so we really appreciate what you've done.
And a lot of that is, you have to have people to push back, or everyone says they agree. Like my gun bills, gun safety bills. If I didn't file them, it just seems like everyone agrees with constitutional carry and loves guns. And I kept filing it to make sure we got something through this year. But also, like you said, with amendments and research, there's very few of us who really understand a lot of the law around this. Even some of my attorney colleagues don't really. And you have OPD and the ACLU and some of y'all coming like, this is why this is unconstitutional.
Yeah.
This is what it's going to do. And can you talk to this one? And we can actually go do it behind the
Yeah.
scenes.
I always know, and this is no disrespect to the non-lawyers at the legislature, because as a kind of career layman, despite my law degree,
Right.
I always know when I'm talking to a lawyer, and I know that I can put things in terms and concepts that you're gonna like pick up on
Like
and
this,
run
you
with.
see what this line does?
Yeah.
Does a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, so, here we are at Union Ramen, a business
new district.
down in that's newly in your district.
Right.
Let's talk a little about your district shifts, some neighborhoods and streets.
So after every census, the federal government, but the state government has to redraw all of our districts: House, Senate, Bessie, not the Supreme Court. I'm probably missing a few in there. One or two.
Congressional districts. That's actually a big.
Oh, we did that.
Yeah, that's a big
No,
debate
you're
right now.
We,
That's a case.
We do that, but that's a little bit different.
Yeah.
In New Orleans, actually, is getting a new House district after Katrina. It's a bloodbath in the legislature in New Orleans because we lost so many people, and Orleans delegation was one of the more powerful ones. So we got one district back. So we got to go in and draw it, and I have to say, my Republican leadership let us do it because they wanted us to vote for the map. And you know what? Sometimes you have to trade off. And we drew a new district in Holly Grove and Mid City, because that area of town currently is very split up.
Yeah.
Like very, very split up. They don't really have a dedicated rep. So we drew that, and as a result, when you draw a district, everyone else kind of sinks into their district. Because all of us had about 50,000 people, and the districts now should be 44,000 because of so much growth. So I shifted down a little. I no longer have Holly Grove. I cover all the Garden and Lower Garden. I have more of Broadmoor. I have more of Central City. My district is kind of a triangle now, whereas before it was this bizarre snake.
Yeah, that makes it easier for people to understand too. Like,
Who represents
and you have like a big street, like a Napoleon or an MLK or something that you can kind of figure out where you're at. So this is newly part of your district down here.
I mean, my current one is very close by.
Yeah, you just like got a few streets.
Right.
So we're definitely going to be, informing people throughout this election season about some district changes and encouraging people to kind of get up on, checking the Go Vote app to see where you are now, because it may be, if you're a borderline person, it may have shifted on you. So yeah, but you've got some challengers in this race. We've looked into these folks, and if they were like 1,000%, and don't take this personally, like kind of like our people, then we kind of have to kind of let it go. Well, I'm not running, but for argument's sake, if Ronald ran, we would have to put it to the vote, right? But in this case, that your work speaks for itself, and we really appreciate what you've done. And we're all about trying to help you get back in there this year. So we're going to endorse you and put some materials out there. And so I appreciate you sitting down. So Mandie, is there anything that you would like to share with our people over here?
There's a few groups I like and trust working with the best, and y'all are clearly one. And also because you technically actually span several issues, because while it's focused on criminal justice issues, it's healthcare, it's women's health, it's expanding constitutional issues and challenging things on that issue. I mean, the move to 17, and that's not just a criminal issue. That is family, that is children, that is education. So I like working with y'all. You know what's going on. You have a good team of people who know what's going on. Well, you need a lot of people. Whereas Meg from OPD, who is amazing on the law, it's like her and our ACLU friend feeding me constitutional issues as I'm asking questions. So I appreciate y'all have a lot of people and that you work well with all those groups. And hopefully we can kind of expand that into more groups, because there's been a stronger progressive presence at the Capitol over my 4 years.
Yeah. I think we're getting better. Weird
definitely.
thing to say. I mean, I know I'm a Debbie Downer sometimes, but
it's realistic.
It's just being realistic.
It's worrisome. It's very worrisome.
And in the end, you gotta have faith in the people. And so, just right here is just part of the fraction of what I have faith in. So.
And y'all can testify. You don't know how many issues people complain about. I said, did you come testify? Did you research? Did you call anyone? Oh, I couldn't make it when it was happening. Okay, you could have sent someone.
Yeah.
You know?
We do our best, but
Y'all have people there who have lived this, and that does go a long way.
for sure. Cool.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mandie Landry.
welcome.
Good luck
Sure.
for the next
Round
4 years.
table.